Hello, happy Taco Tuesday. Lauren Jbara here with Jared Smith. We got a heavy sports day, and I am so looking forward to it. But first of all, Jared, I just want to talk a little bit about yesterday, Monday Night Football game. Are the weather gods just like raining down on the NFL right now? Because it's crazy.
A heavy pour. Good for your bartender, bad for the NFL, which was last night.
I love that.
When you watch that game last night, now everyone we talk to says rain doesn't matter. It's wind. I would say the last two games, the rain mattered a little bit. Maybe it wasn't over the top, but there were certainly some plays made Sunday night and also Monday night that probably could have been made that weren't made if the weather was a little more cooperative. So yes, I definitely think it played a factor. But it's Seattle and it's San Francisco, so it usually rains there. San Francisco, I know it's been a little bit more drier, but there are some issues there at times. And Seattle is like the rain capital of the world, so not too surprising that we had weather issues last night.
I know. So now we're moving on to week 8 of NFL, week 9 of college football. We got the World Series starting tonight. We're going to break that down a little bit. NHL action. We have Pete Jensen from NHL Fantasy on Ice podcast coming on. And can't end without, our Pickswise play of the day and Jared and my best bets. So without further ado, let's get it. Let's bet it. Lots of different sports to talk about today. I'm so excited. So Tuesdays, I always say Wednesdays we were pink, Jared, and Tuesdays, early bird gets the worm. We talk about our early bird specials heading into the weekend. We're talking about week 9 of college football. What games are you eyeing early? And maybe some that you've already gotten in on.
Oh, yeah, we have bet some games early.
Big side.
Yeah, so we'll get to – I put it in a special place in the rundown today. We have a dumpster dive game of the week. I know everyone's very excited about that. But actually the early bird games that I bet on college football for the most part are all major conference games, which is a little rare for me, but I did see some edges that I like. First, let's start with my only spread bet of the week so far, my only spread bet in these major conference games. And I like playing this game with you. And usually we play it at the end of the week because it takes this much time for the market to settle. But the market got settled really quick on this game. I bet Miami Sunday night plus 12.5 at Pittsburgh. Guess today what the line is, basically less than 48 hours later. Guess.
Oh, I don't know.
Just 8? Throw a number out there.
8?
Whoa. Close. 9. How about that?
Wow.
I got 3 points of movement, almost 3 in the hook. Certain spots 9.5, but I saw some 9s out there too.
Good for you, Jared.
In less than 48 hours. Now, I'm not sure why it's moved that much yet. But I'll give you my handicap on why I like Miami. So Pittsburgh's 3-0 against the spread in the last 3 games, all against conference opponents. However, in all 3 of those games, they were favored by less than a touchdown. Wow. So now you see the mark, obviously all the rage, Kenny Pickett, they beat Clemson. Everyone's really excited about Pitt. But now the market moves significantly to over a touchdown against the Miami team that's been playing pretty good. I know you got a glimpse of them firsthand a few weeks ago. 2-0 against the spread in their last 2 games as an underdog. And they won one of those games outright. Very impressive win on Saturday night against NC State. How about Tyler
King, too?
Exactly, and that's my next point. Tyler Van Dyke has been absolutely sensational in relief of De'Aaron King. So 325 yards, 4 touchdowns against that really good NC State defense. And I think this Tyler Van Dyke spark has kind of pushed this Miami team to a different level. And I could see Pittsburgh letdown spot after the Clemson win. I know it wasn't a big, underdog win, like an outright upset, but it was still Clemson, and they still beat them rather handily. And I could see them now playing at noon on a Saturday against Miami. I could see this game being close. And obviously the market's agreeing with me from 12.5 to 9.5, 9 in like 2 days. The other game I like is in the ACC. How about this? Duke Wake Forest. I love these ACC overs. These ACC games are absolutely wild. Wake scored 70 points last week against Army.
I looked at that score last week, Jared, and I was like, I had to rub my eyes for a second and refocus.
They gave up 56.
Why? That's what I said. I said there's absolutely no defense being played in these games. It's wild.
None. And my best pick of the week last week was the Georgia Tech UVA over. That one flew over the number. And the reason why, tempo. Duke is 3rd in plays per game. They run over 8 yet. feed me the plays per game. 82.5 plays per game Duke runs. Wake is in the top 30. They run a pretty fast tempo as well. And both defenses are really bad. Duke's giving up over 34 points per game. Wake, 3 straight overs after 4 straight unders. So it was like the market's like totally flipped on them. Wow. And Duke is coming off of a bye. And then 2 weeks ago, they were shut out. So they've been their offense is chomping at the bit to get back to work as well. They haven't scored a point in 2 weeks. So I could see this game getting over 69. I think the total is going to probably land right around 70, maybe 71. So I think there's still room to the upside. And then I don't love this game as much, but I do think the over in Arizona USC is worth a nibble at 56.5. Both defenses pretty poor. Just a little.
Not a full-on meal.
Just a little. Out west at the Collie, it's been kind of high-scoring games. USC's played a bunch of high-scoring games in the Coliseum this year. The average total, there are 4 games there, almost 62. And both teams run, again, tempo. Arizona 25th, USC 37th in plays per game. So both teams like to run relatively fast tempo. So those are the major conference games. How about you go and tell me what you think and give me your picks, and then we'll have fun at the end of this segment with a little dumpster dive.
I really like the Miami pick.
Yeah, me too. Move that much.
When I covered Miami a few weeks ago talking to Manny Diaz, that was the first week that Tyler Van Dyke actually was playing. And that was one of the biggest questions I had for him. I'm like, what are you expecting from this guy? This is a guy who's maybe had 6-7 total snaps, live snaps in his college career so far, but he did play in the spring game. 6 months ago or whatever. And Manny Diaz said, yeah, exactly. Like, we have a lot of confidence in him after
he looks great
in the spring game. And that's carried over. And so the first game I covered was the game that Tyler Van Dyke was playing. Granted, it was against CCSU, but they scored 69, 70 points in that game. Yeah. They also played Jake Garcia in that game too, but Tyler Van Dyke was the starter. He looked really good just watching him in person. And then obviously, we've seen what he's been able to do over the last few weeks or so with De'Aaron King out.
Tremendous.
So I really like that. Miami with the points.
Me too.
Might tail you on that one. All right.
Get in quick. It's moved.
I know. I might go do it right after we're done recording this show today. So my bets, I obviously, always need to go with the teams that I'm feeling. Of course.
Those are the teams you know the best. Do not be ashamed of that at all.
That's how I bet. I bet
absolutely
teams that I love.
Bet what you know.
Here's the thing, if I really don't feel it in my heart, I'll stay away. But if I feel it in my heart, then I'm like, hell yeah, let's go for it. So I look at Notre Dame, UNC, I have ND money line minus 170. They're pretty much heavy favorites in this one, but here's why. I'd say make it back-to-back wins for the Fighting Irish following its first loss of the season. Last week, beat Virginia Tech going into their bye and came out of it with a convincing 31-16 win over Southern California. Now, and he had a lot of positives coming from last week, converted 8 of 12 third downs and had 170 rushing yards as a team. Now, they extended drives, they ran the ball. Those have been issues for most of the year for Notre Dame so far. But I don't know if it was just progress, against USC's defense, or if they've actually improved on it. That remains to be seen, but I think we'll see that again this week, right? So if nothing else, they have the momentum heading into this game. They opened as I think it was a 3.5 point favorite over UNC. And I think North Carolina has been pretty predictable this year. Looking at their play, they're 4-0 when scoring 35 or more points and 0-3 when they don't hit that mark.
Oh, I like that.
Hold them to 35 points or less. And if that's not enough of a reason to bet against North Carolina, what is? Well, UNC is just 2-19 all time against Notre Dame.
Wow.
So I feel really good about Notre Dame money line.
And Notre Dame hasn't given up 35 points all year to anybody. They gave up Florida State. Sorry, 38 week 1.
Yeah, but you know what? They still ended up winning that game.
They won that game.
Just kind of like, I feel like week 1 was just such a weird week.
Of course.
You're getting back into a normal season rhythm. You're trying to figure it out.
Remember that Packers game week 1 against the Saints? That's a distant memory.
Yeah, totally. So I feel pretty solid about my Fighting Irish in this game. My other team, Michigan. How are you a fan of both Notre Dame and Michigan? Well, I went to Michigan. My dad and both my brothers went to Notre Dame. So you know what? I got a little love for both. Unless they're playing each other, then I won't tell you who I'm rooting for in that game. So Michigan versus MSU.
I'll get it out of you when they play.
I have University of Michigan laying 4.5. I look at Michigan State. last week they were off. Indiana, they beat them the week before. And for the most part, MSU has been keeping a handle on their Big Ten opponents, right? 17.3 points over 4 conference games allowed. However, it's also become apparent to me just how much Michigan State relies on their run game. So I look at 2 of the closest games that they've had this season so far. It's when Kenneth Walker failed to average 4 yards per carry. So I think if the ground game struggles against a team like Michigan, who does have a strong defense, they could have a lot of offensive issues on Saturday. That being said, I know that the history favors Michigan State in this rivalry. I've been to quite a few of those games.
Remember the dropped punt? The dropped punt always gets me.
Seriously.
When the kid dropped the punt.
I was at that game. It was after.
You were at that game?
No.
That game has one of the best memes of all time with the Michigan fan with his hands on his head.
Yep. That was, go blue, but I was feeling a little blue after that.
You were,
The Spartans have won 10 of 18 when both programs were ranked for this game. So
wow,
it's just a little over 50%, not quite 50, but that includes 3 wins in the 4 meetings, and they're both in the top 10. So don't love to see that. But Michigan, I will say they came out of their bye week looking really sharp. 33-7 win over Northwestern. Haskins, Corum each topped 100 yards on the ground and had a pair of rushing touchdowns. Both backs now have double-digit touchdowns on the year, which is pretty good. I didn't necessarily love Michigan's 2 turnovers from the receivers. It's a little alarming to me, but I don't think it's a lingering issue. They only have 4 giveaways on the season. So I think the most promising sign for Michigan is how the defense performed after a week away, right? So they allowed 431 yards to Nebraska a couple weeks ago against Northwestern. And I know it is just Northwestern, but they only gave up 233 yards and 4 third down conversions on 14 attempts. So I like how Michigan's defense is playing right now. I think if they're able to shut down Michigan State in their run game, they're going to be pretty good in this one. I think they'll be able to cover the spread. So go blue, baby. Hopefully I'm not leaving this one feeling a little blue either. We'll see what happens. Fingers crossed. My last one, I'm sticking with the Big Ten, Iowa, Wisconsin. I look at this game, and I know our producer Jack said he might be tailing me on this one. Iowa money line, plus 140. I love getting Iowa at this price. Before I give the reason why, Jared, just initial reactions to Iowa, straight up. How do you feel about something like that?
The most interesting thing about this game is the total. It's 36.5. That is a full game total.
Yeah.
That is a halftime total for some of these Oklahoma type, run and gun offensive teams. I do not recall, and I asked a couple people this. There was a Northern Illinois game a couple years ago with a total in the 30s, but I didn't get an answer about a Power 5 game with a total in the 30s anytime recently. So that's the most interesting thing to me about this game. I almost want to bet the over just out of spite. 36.5 is insane for a college football game.
You won't, Jared. You won't do it.
I will not, because I am too nerdy and analytical.
Usually peer pressure works like that. You say you won't, and you go, yeah, I will. What do you mean I won't? Yeah, I will.
I used to get peer pressured into betting a lot, and then I realized that it's a waste of money. I stopped.
That's true. All right, I look at this one though. Iowa moved up 2 spots in the AP poll despite not playing a week ago. I think it's the last time we saw Iowa. The defense,
Penn State for that.
I know the last time we saw them, the defense really couldn't get off the field. Offense remains stagnant against Purdue. There's no denying that the Hawkeyes are a formidable defensive team, but relying on turnovers and special teams to deliver points in prime field position, I just don't think it's a sustainable football scheme. It's not an identity, really, when you look at it. I think against Purdue, Iowa managed 271 yards of offense, which is not great. And you're like, oh, well, why are you still taking Iowa? The Badgers blown out in Iowa City last year, but they've won 7 of their last 9. I think Iowa's going to come into this game and just be exceptionally hungry for this one.
I don't trust Wisconsin.
More of a gut bet for me than necessarily giving stats and numbers. I just have a really good feeling about Iowa coming out. I feel like their mentality is going to be strong. I feel like we've seen enough from them this season that they're going to be able to work on things over the last couple of weeks, see the mistakes that they've made, and come out in this one and really take advantage of a Wisconsin team. And I know they're on the road. it's a gut bet for me. I feel
I don't mind them being on the road doesn't really affect much for me because they are a really well coached team.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's a noon game.
Yeah,
it's a noon game.
Mm-hmm.
So the road factor doesn't do a whole lot for me. I don't the one thing that I will say that I don't love is that everybody's on Iowa right now, but the line has moved a little bit. I saw it from 3.5 to 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be honest. In a game with a total that low, I would rather have points and be on the dog. And that's just more of a gut, stereotypical, gambling rule. When the total's super low, the points matter more. So you want to have points in your back pocket if you can. But I don't mind the pick at all. I tell you what, I couldn't lay with Wisconsin. That's for sure. No way.
Yeah, totally. I definitely agree with you. All right.
Yeah.
I know we're talking about early birds, but what about early bird gets the worm, Jared? Who in 30 seconds, give me your best bet that you're already locked in on. Do
you want me to do the dumpster dive game first, or want me to do my best bet first? I'll let you pick.
Let's do.
Jack says best bet. There you go. Producer wins. I think the over in the Duke Wake game, 69. I think that total gets to 70 for sure. I'm a child. I'm sorry. I think that total gets to 70 for sure. So it won't be on 69 for that much longer. And I think it goes well over that number. I like, and you've watched a bunch of these ACC games. You've seen it firsthand. It's a league that doesn't play a whole lot of defense, and it's a league that has a lot of teams that run a lot of fast tempo game, tempo aggressive coaches. And I just don't see it. Just like, to me, as long as the weather's good in Winston-Salem that day, I just don't see either one of these offenses really getting slowed down, especially Wake and Duke off the bye, getting shut out. Again, they haven't scored in 2 weeks. They're going to be very chomping at the bit, as my mom would say, to get out there and play some offense this week.
I definitely like it. I'm also going with the totals bet. Michigan, MSU talked a little bit about their defense under 50.5. I feel like both teams are playing exceptionally strong defense right now. I feel like Michigan State won't really be able to get the run game going against Michigan's defense, but also Michigan State's defense has been pretty solid so far this season. I mean, you see what they've been able to do against some of the opponents that they've played. Yeah. And so I feel like the under 50.5 is a safe bet in this one. Two strong defenses. Michigan's offense is good. They're not phenomenal by any means, and Michigan State's offense is good, but not phenomenal by any means. And so under 50.5, I feel pretty good about it. If anything, I actually feel better about the under than I do about Michigan. The spread I agree. I'm betting, but I still got to go with my gut and my heart. So I'm betting both in this one.
Market agrees with you too. It's gone down about a point, the total so far early this week. All right. You ready for the dumpster dive of the week? Yeah, I know you're so excited about this. Yeah. All right. Appalachian State hosting our friends.
Well, Appalachian.
Is it?
Yes, Appalachian.
I'm sorry. I apologize. You know your you know your Southern geography better than me. Appalachian.
No, I just know because they beat Michigan a few years ago.
I remember that game. That game was awesome. I was in college still that game, so that was a part of my college experience. All right, Appalachian State hosting ULM. We have talked about ULM on this show a lot. We like to fade ULM. So I'll give you the common opponents that Appalachian State and ULM have played this year, and hopefully you can notice the trend here. So they both played two common opponents, Coastal Carolina and Georgia State. ULM lost to Coastal by 53 and lost to Georgia State by 34. App State beat Coastal by 3 and beat Georgia State by 29. Wow. So bit of a discrepancy there in the common opponents. ULM we've discussed how bad they are. They're coming off of 2 wins, which I think that means you're getting a discount on App State. This line probably should be over 4 touchdowns, but it's still 27.5. I still saw it there in some spots this morning. ULM, their numbers are so bad. 127th in opponent third down conversions. I know you talked about third downs. Third down conversions, for and against. Huge statistic in college football. Opponent yards per play, 106th. Yards per play, 114th. There's only 130 teams in the FBS. They are brutal. Moving it, having it moved against them, converting third downs against them. It's not a pretty picture for ULM. And I think this game, again, closes 28 or longer, and I think you are getting that slight discount on App State because ULM has randomly won 2 games in a row. They're not going to win 3 in a row, and they're going to get blown out this one. So I'm going to lay the points with Appalachian State. Lation. I'll say that right for you next time. Lation. Now it's lost all meaning, but lay it with App State.
I like it, Jared. I'm a fan.
Thank you.
I need to research this one a little bit more because you go
take a look.
Say 3rd time's the charm, baby, for wins. So we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to it. I'll always love your dumpster dives. All right, we're going to shift gears a little bit, going from the field to a little bit colder of a setting, the ice. Let's bring in our friend Pete Jensen from the NHL Fantasy on Ice podcast. Pete, how are you doing today? Happy Tuesday.
Doing great. Yeah, there have been, we're about 2+ weeks into the new season, and you still see some really surprising teams kicking around here. The ones that come to mind so far, San Jose Sharks, only 1 loss. Buffalo Sabres just beat the back-to-back champion Lightning.
Nice.
They've been off to a fast start. Also, the Detroit Red Wings have been a big surprise to me, whether it's fantasy or competing in real life. So, I mean, right off the bat, guys, those were 3 of the worst teams in our projections. So that's how hockey goes sometimes.
I know. I look at that. I was actually looking at some of the standings earlier, and I was like, how are the Red Wings? How are the Red Wings?
Lauren's not used to seeing a team from Michigan near the top of the standings in professional sporting.
Yeah, I'm not used to that right now. I was looking at it. I'm like, how are the Red Wings? I mean, I know it's only 7 games into the season, but what are they doing right now? And the Sabres.
Well, I'll start with the Red Wings. They're the goalie tandem of Nedeljkovic and Thomas Greiss, who people remember was really good for the Islanders under Barry Trotz. I think that's translating here. The goaltending tandem in team save percentage is in the top half of the league, so that's a good start. Then one thing that I thought would really hurt this team is Jacob Vrana being injured long term. He was going to play on their top line. But the way that the top line has played so far has been exceptional with rookie Lucas Raymond. He was a former top pick. They also have another former top pick, Mo Sider, on defense. So the young blood on that team is as good as any teams in the league right now. And then, of course, you have a healthy Dylan Larkin, who's proven previous years that he could be a near point per game player over an 82-game season. So put that all together, plus Tyler Bertuzzi. I know he's been a little complicated one because, he's not vaccinated, so he can't play in some of the games in Canada and stuff like that. But when he's in the lineup, he has been one of the most electric players in the entire league so far, including had a 4-goal game. So, I mean, they've been doing it with the offense. They're top heavy, but they've gotten good goaltending to go along with it. And the young players on that team have been as strong as anybody's.
Let's start at the top and work our way down now, because the Lightning, I've been on them a couple of times and I went down in flames. Not the Calgary Flames. That's another team that played well last night. But Tampa Bay's just they look a little sluggish, Pete. Are you concerned that it's, something bigger than just early season? They'll figure it out. Because they got whipped last night in Buffalo. That game was not close from basically start to finish. And that's a team that I would expect, even on their average nights, to be able to put some distance between themselves and some of the other worst teams in the NHL. But that hasn't happened yet so far.
And I think earlier in the year, we were just talking about Detroit. They played, I think it was their first game. It was 7-6. They came back to beat the Red Wings. But it seemed like an outlier. But the problem is now, not only the roster construction is not as good as the past 2 years. If you remember, like last year, Nikita Kucherov missed the entire regular season, but they were able to stay afloat because they had great depth and Yanni Gord and Blake Coleman on their third line, high quality players. Now those guys are gone to different teams. So they don't have as much depth. Kucherov's out again indefinitely. And I think you're starting to see some of these problems, surface a little bit, whereas before they were masked by the depth of the Lightning. So maybe some defensive problems. They still have 4 superstar players, but on certain nights, I think it's not going to be as easy as it was in the past to just skate by and not have to work for everything in front of you.
They're overpriced too, so that gives us chances to fade. I mean, they were minus 200 last night, so we'll keep an eye on those Tampa Bay Lightning for sure.
Hey, they have 2 Stanley Cups in the last 2 years. It's time to share the wealth.
What have you done for me lately, though? They lost last night and they ruined our parlay.
Oh my gosh. Another team I want to talk about, Pete, is a team like the Vegas Golden Knights, right? They were a team that were neck and neck with the Avs all last season. They're starting the season out now 1-4, and they're going up against the Avs tonight, which is not going to be an easy challenge for either team. I mean, what's not been clicking for Vegas right now to start the season?
The offense hasn't been clicking because they don't have Mark Stone or Max Pacioretty. Both of those guys are injured right now. So, I mean, at least they have an excuse, maybe more so than Tampa Bay, because their 2 best offensive players are injured. But definitely, yeah, even the supporting cast in Vegas has not really stepped up. They got Evgeny Dadonov, a high-quality point producer in the past. He hasn't done much so far, even in an elevated role. I think we've seen that second line of Riley Smith, Jonathan Marchessault, William Karlsson kind of get a little worse and worse every year since Vegas was an expansion team in 17-18. So, and those guys have not really stepped up to the plate. So I think we've seen Robin Lehner have decent stats so far, but he's just not getting the goal support. So whether the offense comes from the back end out, or one of those couple of guys I mentioned on the forward group steps up, something needs to change. And I think the Avs, now that they're starting to click a little bit offensively, I don't know that Vegas is going to be able to outscore Colorado tonight, especially with McKinnon and Landeskog back. McKinnon was on COVID protocol for a few games to start the season. Landeskog was suspended 2 games, but he's back. So, and the Avs just beat the Lightning the other day. So good sign for them. And Darcy Kemper's been a little up and down for Colorado, but overall has made some, he's made some highlight reel saves too. So I think the Avs will be just fine. I'm a little bit more worried about Vegas just because you can't replace those 2 guys until one of them comes back, and they're both week to week right now.
Yeah, the over-under, our producer Jack said for the Golden Knights Avs is 6 tonight. What do you like? Do you like the over or the under on that one?
I mean, the Avalanche could always hit the over on their own. So
I love taking the over with Avs games because they're just so much fun to watch.
Yeah, their offense is flashy for sure.
Like that. It's awesome.
Other game I got my eye on tonight, Pete. I like this Minnesota Wild team on the road to Vancouver tonight. So they're coming off their first loss, but they've looked really good. Minnesota has. And I don't know what to make of the Canucks 2-game winning streak against the Kraken and Blackhawks. What do you make of Minnesota tonight? We saw this line flip. Canucks were just a short little favorite last night. Now they're basically a short underdog this morning. So the market's kind of agreed with me, but I don't know if I want to lay too much more with Minnesota. What do you think about the Wild tonight in Vancouver?
Well, when I look at that matchup, I think that Vancouver has better center depth with Pettersson, Bo Horvat, who's had goals in 3 straight games, I believe. He's been stepping it up. And they also have JT Miller, who's a wing, but also plays a lot of center. Minnesota does not have nearly as good centers. Joel Eriksson Ek plays with Kaprizov. He's been having a breakout season. But beyond that, I think Vancouver has the advantage there. But on defense is where it's pretty drastic in the other team's favor. Minnesota has one of the steadiest defenses in the league. And, if Cam Talbot starts, he's been pretty reliable the past 2 seasons for them. So, and for Vancouver, it's like the defense is a liability. So they could get themselves into a little bit of trouble. Nice gutsy win to spoil the Kraken's opener the other day. But in terms of consistency, Vancouver just doesn't really have it defensively, which makes me worry about that team and how far they can go, because Vancouver 2 years ago, it looked like they were the darlings of the playoffs, and they were, maybe going to beat the Golden Knights with Thatcher Demko that year. And ever since, it's like the defense has gotten worse, and Demko plays well most times, but faces a ton of shots on a nightly basis.
Mm-hmm. It does look like Talbot tonight, projected at least. Talbot, Demko. If it is Talbot, I like the Wild. I'm going to bet the Wild tonight.
I love it. Okay, Pete, for you, are you in on any games tonight? What ones stand out to you is definitely must bets, and what ones maybe stay away from?
So for our DFS picks on NHL.com/fantasy, we're riding the hot hand with James Reimer and the San Jose Sharks.
Okay.
Erik Karlsson looks rejuvenated for that team. Last year, I think, was maybe just, you kind of chalk it up to, so much going wrong for the Sharks last year in terms of injuries, in terms of, remember, they didn't start the first month of the season playing at home. They had that kind of weird circumstance.
That was wild.
It was some 5 or 6 weeks away from home. Yeah.
Definitely unfavorable last year. Some stuff they couldn't control, but they're coming out flying here. Karlsson looks great. The goaltending is new, so kind of maybe addition by subtraction, not having Martin Jones there with the sub 900 save percentage. Now they have Adin Hill, and James Reimer has been off to a great start. Reimer was with the Sharks a couple of years ago for the stretch run, played really well, but then went to the Hurricanes. But he's back in San Jose, and he's getting the start expected tonight. So Nashville is a team that I don't think has the offense on a nightly basis anymore after some of the moves they made in the offseason. So I do think the Sharks have something brewing here, and some good young talent on that team as well. William Eklund, maybe a dark horse Calder Trophy contender if he can keep this up. Another rookie, Jonathan Dahlin. So all of a sudden, a team that always had those aging stars and stuff like that starting to integrate the youth, and it's been good to see so far for San Jose.
I'm in. Plus 120. I grabbed it. Sharks. Do you guys want to sing Baby Shark before we let Pete go?
No, don't even bring up That's one of those ones.
Pete has a son. I'm sure he sings it all the time.
It's stuck in your head now for the next month. I hate you for that.
All right. Sorry, I brought it up. Apologies. My bad.
Baby Shark,
oh, yes, there it is. She got it.
Pete, any other ones that you're looking at tonight?
I'm looking. There's a couple of teams on back-to-backs. I'm really curious to see what happens with the Lightning against the Penguins.
I'm fascinated by them right now, Pete. I'll be honest. There is opportunities to fade them because the market, as you know, might take a little while to adjust to the fact that they're not as good as maybe they were last year.
And I mean, let's be honest too. We were talking about the surprises early for Detroit and Buffalo, and you wonder how Buffalo's doing it without Jack Eichel, without Casey Middlestat. That's totally crazy. But really, you could say the same thing about the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah.
No Crosby, no Malkin. Gensel missed the first few games. He's back. But now Jeff Carter and Chris Letang, two of their other best players, are on COVID protocol. And they just scored 7 goals the other day against the Maple Leafs. So Mike Sullivan doing another masterful job for the Penguins. And of course, the Penguins beat the Lightning in the season opener, too. That was a bit of a stunner, maybe a little bounce back appeal after Tampa Bay got embarrassed last night in Buffalo. But yeah, I'm just amazed what Pittsburgh's doing with guys like Drew O'Connor leading the show. I mean, guys that most people have never heard of, really taking the bull by the horns. And, even Danton Heinen, guys that they picked up that you thought might be fillers on their third line or playing first line minutes and scoring. So hats off to them. I've been amazed by what the Penguins continue to do each year when we think that they've downgraded on paper, and then they just still find a way to make the playoffs every year.
One thing that's interesting, I just have one more follow-up before we let Pete go. Sometimes the back-to-backs, we talk about the second game being the tough game, but a lot of times, Pete, it's the first game because there's a mental block saying, oh, crap, we have to play again tomorrow. So maybe the Lightning last night in Buffalo were like, oh, crap, we got to go to Pittsburgh tomorrow. So maybe you get a better effort for them tonight. I'm just trying to be a little contrarian about the back-to-backs.
Yeah, there are a couple other teams second of back-to-back too. So it's always a little complicated. You see, of course, right here we got the Flames beat the Rangers last night. Pretty lopsided, but they're playing the Devils. Devils have some sneaky appeal. They just got Ty Smith back, their best young defenseman. They have this kid in the crease right now because Blackwood and Jonathan Bernier are banged up right now, so that they got this kid Nico Dawes. He's in his he's really young, and he just won his NHL debut the other day. So maybe he can ride the hot hand there because he's going to get the opportunities. And the Flames just played last night, so I think it's different circumstances are more telling than others. But I'm a little worried, like we were saying, for a team like the Lightning on short rest now with all these things going wrong, roster flaws, and the whole thing. So maybe it's a Pittsburgh
home dog.
Pittsburgh situation where they're in the Lightning's heads a little bit.
It's going to be really interesting to see. It's like that's a big part of it too, is the mental aspect, right? Like
100%.
when your team starts breaking down a little bit after knowing that you have been the Stanley Cup champs the last 2 years, like that could be a mental toll on a team. Like it could start pulling a team apart. But the one thing that I say, to these teams with guys banged up, like you were talking about the Pittsburgh Penguins, is I know it's hockey speak, but it's the next man up mentality. And it really is true. And I think that out of all the leagues, the NHL embraces the next man up mentality. One of the highest, I guess the most, whatever. I don't even know what I'm trying to say right now, but you know where I'm getting at. It's really is the next man up mentality. Like I look at what a guy like Logan O'Connor was able to do for the Avs last season. I mean, he came out, especially, like towards the end of the season in the postseason, like he looked really, really good. He was a guy that's a fourth line guy, but he was moving all the way up and down the lineup because of the injuries, guys missing, and he was making things happen. He kind of was like a spark plug for the Avs last season when guys were out. So you look at what these guys are able to do, next man up mentality. It's going to be really fun to watch the NHL over the next few weeks, see if these trends keep going, because, we're only 6-7 games into the season. We'll see if the Red Wings can keep up their work, the Sabres. We'll see if the Lightning and Vegas still struggle like they do. So it's going to be fun. Pete, thank you so much. Pete Jensen from NHL Fantasy on Ice podcast. We'll have you on again very soon, my friend.
Thanks for having me. Enjoy the games tonight, rest of the week, and great to see you guys.
All right, Jared, now we're moving on to Major League Baseball, because I don't know if you've heard, but there's a pretty big game going on tonight.
Really? I haven't heard.
It's not the regular season.
No.
Well, it's not
spring training yet?
It's just spring training. No, it is World Series game.
Oh my God,
my friend. And I am so excited about it. Houston, we have a problem. It is in Houston. World Series starts tonight in Houston, Texas. The Astros taking on the Atlanta Braves. We got game 1 tonight, game 2 tomorrow. Jared, how excited are you? Finally, the World Series is upon us.
I'm not that excited because it's actually, no, I'll rephrase. I'm excited the Red Sox aren't in it. If you want to talk about personal biases. It is an interesting World Series from a ratings perspective. I always wonder, like, what would have been like the best World Series, like that the network executives would have liked. Yeah. I don't think they would have chose Braves Astros. I don't think they would have chose
definitely not. It's a shock to everybody. I think, especially after the Red Sox and their freaking dominant postseason.
And the Dodgers being the Dodgers. I mean, I think that's the World Series that the network executives
and the Braves also never being able to get past the hump. I mean, everything was working against the Atlanta Braves, and they I'm excited for them.
And the odds speak to that. So I did some deep dives last night. So these are from MGM, and these are the odds preseason for this matchup. So Astros versus Braves was 66-1 preseason. The Braves opened 10-1 preseason to win the World Series. So they were actually considered to be one of the, relative favorites near the top of the market. The Astros they came from pretty much the back of the pack, plus 2,200. Not the back of the pack, but definitely the middle of the pack. And now they're favored in the series. I saw minus 145 at MGM. You can get them at a, minus 150-ish range. I saw a few spots, plus 130 for the Braves. I think that's a really good number. Houston's got the experience. It's their third pennant in the last 5 years. So they've been to 3 World Series in the last 5 years. But how about Dusty Baker? I mean, this guy's been everywhere, coached everywhere. Yeah, and it is a great name. And he's never won a World Series. So I think there's some, people pulling for him, I guess, in the baseball ranks. He's a really well-liked guy. But the Braves are a feel-good story, too. And they were really close last year. They lost in Game 7 to the Dodgers, down 2-0, down 3-1 in that series in the NLCS. So I think they've got some unfinished business as well. And how about their GM, Alex Anthopoulos? He is the MVP of this team. Rosario, Duvall, Peterson, Soler. He made all the moves at the deadline. And I think the key in this series is going to be starting pitching. The Astros do not have Lance McCullers still. And the Braves, I think, are deeper in that area with their rotation. Their ERA, starting pitching ERA this postseason, 3.27 for Atlanta, 5.92 for Houston. Ooh. I think that's the difference in the series. I think Atlanta wins the World Series. I grabbed plus 130 last night. I think that's a good price. Obviously, if they win tonight, it flips to a favorite. If they lose tonight, it probably goes to about plus 200 or so. And I made 2 MVP sprinkles because I like to throw a little down pre-series to have some fun. A little sprinkle. Yeah. I went with Yordan Alvarez on the Astros side, 10-1. He's been just absolutely red hot. He had at least one hit in all 6 ALCS games. And he went 7 for 9 in games 5 and 6. I mean, he's been unbelievable. And on the Braves side, the narrative to me is Freddie Freeman. You know, what happened last year with
he's a guy that you just want to root for.
Exactly. And these awards, if it's a series where Freeman and Rosario and a bunch of guys have decent series, the media will vote for Freeman because he is Mr. Atlanta. Yeah. And I think that's how I'm rolling. So Braves to win the series plus 130 and a couple MVP sprinkles on Freeman and Alvarez. I think it's going to be a really fun series too. I know. I do too. I like your futures bets. I'm actually betting on the game tonight, game 1. And my bets are kind of contradictory a little bit, but you know what? Like, I'm hedging it at the same time. So Framber Valdez over 4.5 strikeouts. I like this at plus 128. I looked throughout the postseason. The trend that like really became profitable was betting the under on strikeout props, but not today, my friend. We're going to break that trend, play the strikeout prop, the over 4.5 strikes for plus money. The Astros are going to be looking for the southpaw to silence the Braves offense and put them in a position to win game 1. I look at what the 27-year-old's been able to do. He's struggled the first 2 playoff starts, but had a great start against the Red Sox in game 5 of the ALCS, only gave up 1 earned run, 3 hits, 5 strikeouts, 8 innings pitched. He's gone over 4.5 strikeouts in 2 of 3 postseason games. Now, granted, the Braves offense is crushing left-handed pitching in the postseason, batting .321. But I think if he's able to get at least to the 5th inning, this prop should hit. But on the other side, we'll get to my best bet of the day, which is Braves money line. So I'm kind of hedging it a little bit. But I think actually both could be able to absolutely
hit. How do you feel
I think
about
to me, the key is how because he's a rookie. This is his first World Series game. He's at home.
A lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure. If I had to pick which pitcher I think handles the pressure better, it would be Charlie Morton because he's been in this situation before. But I'll be honest though, and this isn't a knock on your pick. I struggle with K props in the postseason because these managers just pull so quickly. And I got burned a couple of times earlier in the playoffs where my guy's cruising along and then it's like one thing happens, either an error or a walk or something, bang, bullpen's in the game. And it's just the amplification of the game maybe skews the number a little bit against you because the managers will be very quick to pull. So I don't know if you're getting a true number. But that being said, if he pitches to his true numbers, 4.5 has been very low for him this postseason. So it's a tough dynamic to handicap because you just don't know how desperate the switch will be if Dusty Baker decides to make a move early. But I think it's a good number at 4.5 for a starting pitcher, no doubt.
Definitely. We'll see what happens tonight. All right, let's get into our Pickswise 3-star play of the day. Jared, hit me with it.
All right. So first, we do have we haven't had one lately. It's been kind of slim pickings.
But hey, it's just because we only want to give the best to our people.
Yes, the creme de la creme.
We're only giving the creme brulee from the
filet mignon, medium rare, with a side of red, maybe some sweet potato on the side too.
You don't want to give anyone some like crusty cheese that's been sitting in the fridge for like 6 days. You know what I mean?
So if you really want to sweat tonight, we have an under for you in the NBA. I mean, talk about sweating. And I actually did bet this last night because I got a really good number at win. I think the market's going to settle around 219 here in the Nuggets and Jazz game. I got 220 last night at win. It might still be there. Go check out win, see if they're still there. But I do really think this is a really good pick because I like Robin Hung's analysis. I will let you read it yourself. I will not give it away. Tease, go to website, Pickswise.com. Check out our 3-star play, Nuggets Jazz, under 219.5. That's where it'll be graded at. And I bet it because I haven't bet. This is only my second NBA bet of the year, but I did like his analysis. And he's a new writer for us. I haven't seen his name pop up yet, but he's got a 3-star play today on the NBA.
I like it, Jared. I absolutely love it. All right, let's get into our best bets of the day. What is your gut telling you is definitely going to hit tonight.
All right, well,
10% of the time it works every time because you never know in betting. But you know what? Feel it. I don't know, that chest, like stomach punch.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, my picks have been absolute crap lately in our plays of the day. Full disclosure.
That means that one of them is going to hit very soon.
So what do you do? What do you do when you're on a rut? So I will give the exact specifics of my rut. So remember, I had that amazing 7-game winning streak. That was awesome, right? Since then, I am 3-10. Ugh, God. Oh, God. But listen,
you don't love to see it.
We don't hide from the numbers. Actually, 4-11. I missed a couple of numbers there at the bottom. 4-11, which is still 7 under 500. It's still not very good. So what do you do when you're in a rut? Well, you take a step, and I get these questions all the time. I'm running bad. How do I change my luck? Blah, blah, blah. Here's what you do. Take a step back, and you just blind bet something that you like or your friend likes, and you just remove some of the analysis and some of the, the in-depth statistics, because obviously your approach is a little off and you need to recalibrate. So what I'm going to do tonight, I woke up this morning. I like the Braves to win the series. I woke up this morning. I checked the rundown. I know that you are on the Braves money line. And I said, you know what? The mojo in Atlanta, my girl just moved down there. She's having a blast. She loves it. We are going to recalibrate our mojo by going in on the Braves with you tonight. I found a slightly better price. I believe it was at the Superbook. Yes, and at DraftKings at plus 120. And listen, the handicap, we just gave it to you on the World Series. I think Charlie Morton's game here. And I think this Braves team's got a little more mojo than Houston this year. I think they're going to win the series, and I think they're going to win game 1. They got the mojo, and we need to switch up our mojo. So I'm tailing my girl, LJ, and we're going with the Braves, plus 120. Now, please give me your more astute, smart handicap than
honestly, Jared, to be honest with you, I was going to say it's just a gut feeling.
Okay.
This is just a gut feeling. Like a little bit, I said the Braves, I feel like they're underdogs in a series where it's just pretty close.
They got the better rotation. They're underdogs in a series where they've got the better rotation. I think that's, telling.
Yeah, I think the Astros in this game have a little bit of an advantage, not with pitching, but I just feel like Minute Maid Park, the roof's going to be closed. That place is going to be rocking. It's going to be loud. It's always tough to play on the road anywhere. I mean, the fans really are, especially after the last year and a half with COVID and not having fans. I feel like players are really embracing having their fans back in the stands. And I feel like Minute Maid Park is going to be absolutely rocking. But for me, it's like what we've seen from Freddie Freeman and the Braves bunch has been so freaking exciting to watch. You can't root against a team like that. Just the adversity that they've faced over the last 6 years. I think, in a post-game interview, listening to Freddie Freeman, he's like, look, it's really cool to go from losing, 96, 97 games 6 years ago to being in the World Series now. Like a guy like Freddie has been there through the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I'm such a fan of the Atlanta Braves right now. And for me, it's just a gut pick. I just have a good feeling about it. They're carrying over the momentum of winning, the NLCS in 5 games, coming back in game 1 and game 2 in the bottom of the 9th inning. It's just wild. I mean, they're doing something right now.
Yeah.
The city's buzzing.
TOD, Team of Destiny.
Team of Destiny.
TOD.
Here, baby. I just have a good feeling about it. I think they're
big game. Charlie Morton. Uncle Charlie pitches a gem tonight. Let's go.
Uncle C. I love
Uncle C.
It's going to be fun. Big night of sports tonight. That's it for us today, though. I know you're going to miss us so much until tomorrow, but find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter and download the Pickswise app. If you haven't yet, you are missing out. Jared Smith, Lauren Jbara, best of luck tonight, you guys. See you tomorrow. Let's get it. Let's bet.